It's not uncommon for people to ask about better team collaboration and facilitation. I get these questions all the time, especially now that I'm starting to see a trend. So, the trend that I'm seeing is that in the past, we focused less on facilitation and change management than we do now. And I think it's just so incredibly important for us to embrace change management as part of our agile discussion and to make sure that we understand how to properly facilitate. This is the reason why I feel like my Agile certification, the facilitation certification, is going so well. The Agile Certified Facilitator is probably one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, certification courses that I've ever offered. The tools that I've used to create a really good, well designed workflow to help people understand how to better engage is just, it's incredible. It's enlightening. And every time we've offered a course, we've had a jam packed room. So I thought it'd be cool to just extrapolate a little bit and talk about 5 easy ways to facilitate better team collaboration. So the way we meet, work, and collaborate has changed dramatically in recent years. With people working in distributed, remote, and hybrid capacities, teams are more reliant than ever on virtual meetings and workshops to help accelerate ideas and projects. However, I've noticed that people have become increasingly skeptical of meetings, and rightfully so. I mean, I can see it all the time. The wrong people are invited. There's not a clear agenda. They're not sure if the meetings are worth their time, and they feel like it's taken away from good productivity time that they could be having. In fact, I'm going to go on record and say I encourage people to be protective of their time. If you want more information about that, you could search RATS, The Rats, as one of my podcast episodes where I talked about this, because time is our most valuable resource. That being said, gone are the days of building consensus and sharing ideas at a water cooler, which means time together is critical so that we can actually get things done, so we can get things out the door. We have an opportunity to show our teams how satisfying collaborative work can be when the right tools, methods, and activities are employed. Through intentional planning, we can make time we have with our teams count and feel like it's a good use of time. The facilitator approved tips in this episode will help you do just that. But I want to start by saying nobody sets out to lead or facilitate a bad meeting. Nobody ever comes in and says, I'm going to make the worst meeting ever. We all plan these sessions, but oftentimes we don't see good results coming out of them, and team members become disengaged, and they leave saying, I don't feel confident that I am, an active part in working to my fullest potential. If you've ever heard any of those frustrations from your clients or from your internal teams, it likely means that their collaborative sessions haven't been designed or facilitated well. I don't want you to start by pointing fingers, though. I'm here to bring you some relief. I want to tell you about, sessions you could do and workshops you could do to make things better, but I also want to give you some tips. So right out of the gate, okay, Lee, we've identified the problem. How do we facilitate better? As a leader or facilitator who's bringing the team together, it's up to you to make sure that your workshops are filled with the right methods and activities to unlock the team's full potential. It's the key to making your time together more productive and to keep the momentum going once you adjourn. After many, many years of facilitating teams of many shapes, sizes at organizations of many shapes and sizes, big and small, who build products, services, software, hardware, anything you could possibly dream of in the entertainment industry, the Department of Defense, my hope is that you can take these 5 simple learnings, these five lightweight takeaways, and that you can apply them as needed to help in your collaborative sessions. So right out of the gate, number 1, always recognize and cater to different learning styles. This is so important when it comes to leading groups, but it's amazing how quickly we forget about it, right? Everyone on a team could retain information differently. Some are auditory, some are visual, some enjoy conversational learning styles. What works for one person may not and often will not work for another. Acknowledging this truth and adjusting how you run sessions is the first major step towards better collaboration and productivity. One thing that I always require is send a lightweight meeting agenda beforehand via email for all those who prefer to digest the information at their own pace. Then when you start your session, write the agenda visibly somewhere in the workshop or on a virtual whiteboard to cater to all visual learners. Next, verbally read out the agenda when participants are settled to accommodate auditory learners. You might even invite a discussion about the agenda to support verbal processes, even if it's just a brief, albeit a brief conversation. But repetition of this process, especially at the beginning of each day for multi-day sessions, might seem basic or redundant, but it's an effective way to help individuals absorb and retain information. So even if it's a big room planning or a PI planning, you want to make sure that you're doing these things. All right, number 2, balance time for reflection and conversation. In collaborative workshops, oftentimes we try to just rush to get to the answer. We're here to get an answer. But it's key to strike a balance between reflection and conversation. Rather than just defaulting to open conversation right away, you should always try to provide a moment for reflection, especially before the group starts sharing their ideas. This is important because it gives everyone a fair chance to articulate their own ideas and prevents the loudest voices in the room from monopolizing the conversation. Some people are confident and comfortable processing their thoughts live and in the moment, while others just need time alone to think about it first and to process the information. Support both by allowing some time for reflection, then sharing. So there's lots of different ways to do this, but make sure you're trying to capture both. Okay. Uh, Number 3, let people team up or not, depending on whether it's necessary, right? It's a collaborative session, so people should constantly work together, right? Well, not necessarily. Remember, your team is likely made up of a handful of introverts and extroverts and internal processors and external processors. So paired work may not always be the most productive method for everyone. Rather than defaulting to group work every single time, provide opportunities for both independent work and moments to share and collaborate within the group. Provide a clear structure and guidance, but be flexible on how people spend their energy. This might mean giving people space to step outside the room for a bit, to reflect, or quiet time that's better suited for their processing style. There's also been times where we pair up with a specific partner to brainstorm for an idea. And generally, my answer is yes. When something works, let's do it, right? But you should always be mindful of old habits or power dynamics at play that may actually be a disservice to the group. You need to stay in attention mode to the people and the culture that brought the group together to navigate in the first place. All right, number 4 is a big one. Democratize sharing and decision making. This is so important to safeguard against voices that monopolize conversations or power dynamics that might sway a group. Encourage everyone to share their ideas. I like to embrace my inner kindergarten teacher and call on individuals and ask them to contribute. This is especially important if someone has been quiet or isn't likely to speak up unless you call upon them, right? Another neutralizing activity I love is anonymous voting. There's more than one way to run anonymous voting exercises, but the key point here is you're giving folks a chance to vote on an idea or concept individually first before sharing that information more broadly. So while I'm not a huge fan of anonymity in most things, there is a place to keep things unbiased, and sometimes a simple vote can be anonymous and it'll be fine. All right, number 5, never ever skip wrap-up activities. As a facilitator, it's your job to help align on priorities, which things we're going to pursue, which set of options we'd like to vet further, how we're going to refine a prototype. Ideally, you're leaving with some call to action when you leave the meeting. When I first worked with teams, I spent a lot of time intentionally approaching a transition from workshop or collaborative sessions to how we execute the work and the planning steps to take. This means that I'm spending time in ideation, I'm spending time in discovery, and I'm involving the team in part of it so that they can be part of the entire Agile process, not just the delivery cycle, right? Whatever you do, don't cross the finish line without doing wrap-up activities or you're going to regret it later. Now, these were simple tips, and there were just a few of them. What I can tell you is the Agile Certified Facilitator class is packed with information about how to navigate, turbulent waters with a team, how to understand proper coaching stances and the way that you can adjust and pivot. It helps you understand bias and gives you techniques for receiving feedback, giving feedback, multiple teams, single teams, individuals, from the front of the room, from the back of the room, within the team. It's just a really, really powerful workshop. And this was just a small taste of some of the things you might expect to hear. So what I can tell you is it's not as easy as rubbing a lamp or snapping your fingers, but it definitely gives you better results. So my advice is, if you haven't already taken a facilitation workshop, hop in and take one. It's definitely going to be worth your time. And if you have taken a facilitation workshop, it never ever hurts to refresh, because sometimes you might just learn something new. That's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have a topic you want us to discuss, learn more at AgileDad.com. We'd love to hear from you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.